Hello friends, welcome to this video. It's been a minute, but I am actually really excited to show you guys what I've been working on. I've been pretty busy with like work and life stuff, so it's taken a little longer than usual, but I finally have the beginnings of a Tribe Gen Series 2 or like Season 2. Yeah. And basically, if you don't know what Tribe Gen is, Tribe Gen started a couple years ago when I was really into Wings of Fire and I had read the books for the first time and wanted to get into like making fan tribes and making stories and stuff. So I actually used a tribe generator online to help me with that. And I just wanted to make some cool drawings, but I ended up also making like an entire world and story out of it. So yeah, as usual though with me, everything's gotta have a story. That's what makes it interesting to me personally and to my brain. But yeah, so this is Tribe Gen Season 2 or Series 2. And funnily enough, this tribe wasn't actually generated by the tribe generator. So maybe that's cheating. I have some aspects of the tribe from a tribe generator, but you know, I'll make it up to you with like the next tribe, okay? Okay, so the idea for this tribe actually started with this YouTube comment. This like created a whole basically like series that is forming in my head as we speak. But yeah, so Dusky commented that a tribe that mainly dwells in the atmosphere and almost never lands or very rarely lands would be a cool idea. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I started to have ideas for what their culture would be like. And the crux of the story would be like, okay, they have to land for some reason. So why do they have to land? And then this kind of like sparked all these things. So after a very long intro, this is StormWings. As I mentioned previously, they are a tribe that is built to fly like 99% of the time. And their culture also like revolves around that. And also the way their bodies are structured. So they do everything on the wing. They hunt on the wing. They have their babies incubating on their backs while they're flying, or hatchlings that are too young to fly will rest on their back in like a nest of cloth. Sick, injured, or like extremely old individuals can rest on slings that are carried by other tribe members. So all of this, like their biology kind of informs them to have kind of a very like community-minded tribe, I think, because when you live your entire life in the air, it can be potentially easy for something to go wrong and for that to have drastic consequences. So having your tribe around you to help you is something that you need, which kind of brought me to this idea of chivalry and knights, which makes me already start thinking of characters, but I can't think of any characters yet. Like this is just about the tribe and their culture. Okay. Sorry, this is bouncing around a little, but in this part, I also wrote more ideas for their biology. Like they'll sleep like dolphins, where they kind of rest with half their brain at a time so they can continue to glide. Naturally, they have very large wings and they actually have these frills along their spine to like help them just give them the maximum surface area possible. So they really don't have to work a lot to stay in the air. Sort of like, you know, an albatross or something. Like those seagoing birds that also rarely land, which probably means that these guys most likely eat fish for the most part. Because like if you're flying all the time, you're probably over a lot of water and fish are going to be pretty easy to hunt and eat on the wing. I mean, at least when I think of birds that are constantly flying, I think of seabirds because that's, you know, biology of some seabirds, like the albatross. I'd say they would also be opportunistic hunters, so they can also catch birds and stuff, anything that like they can reach while they're flying. But I think for the most part, the easiest would be fish. And again, because they are constantly flying, they're constantly on the wing, their tribe is relatively nomadic, which kind of reminds me of the Scorchwings from the earlier series, but in this, it's pretty different, I would say. Maybe. Basically, this is also like I think similar to some like whales and dolphins, that they kind of have they they don't necessarily have a territory. They have like probably seasonal areas where they'll like migrate to. And especially if they follow fish, you know, they'll follow their food source. So during some seasons, this area is more plentiful. So they'll migrate there and hang around there. And then during this other season, this area is more plentiful. So they'll migrate there and hang out there for a second. But yeah, this tribe I'm very excited about, but it's definitely still developing. So if you have any more ideas to make it make sense or add something cool, that would be helpful. Because I mean, as you can see in the creation of this video, your comments are extremely helpful and super inspiring to me. So yeah, feel free to leave comments. Now, I also mentioned that their culture includes chivalry and the concept of knighthood. So I'm sure that there are several types of jobs in this tribe. I think healer is probably a big one. You need, I think, pretty skilled healers if you're going to spend your entire life doing something that is like technically, you know, hard, I would think, flying all the time. But I like to imagine kind of like an elite crew of knights. It's almost like probably every dragonette's dream is to become a knight when they're in this tribe. They're kind of like the coolest ones, aside from the queen, obviously, and like probably her queen's guard, or like the queen's guard is like an upper echelon of knighthood. But instead of being like Wings, where battle is the point and the base of their culture, and they want to be warriors so they can fight, the knights are supposed to like uphold the ideals of the community and to be protectors of the weak and to help the dragons of their tribe. And I kind of also assume this tribe is kind of dispersed in several groups. I think they would be moderate-sized groups. I know that's such a cop-out, but basically what I mean is this tribe isn't all concentrated together. They kind of have almost pods, I would say. And each pod has like a certain, number of knights to protect them. Because when I think of them as like constantly flying through their territory, because their territory is the atmosphere, they probably cross through territories of other tribes that maybe wouldn't want them to be there. So the knights are there for protection and to basically help and aid, and also be kind of leaders for the community as well. And now it kind of makes me think of like, a character who maybe like grew up in a really small pod, who just had, like one knight assigned to their pod, and that knight is like really old, and so they like listen to the stories of this knight recounting battles and like all of the chivalrous deeds that they've done. And like that dragonette just like wants to grow up to be a knight so badly, but they're like from such a small, like off the beaten path pod that like it's going to be impossible for them to like travel to the main pod and become a knight. And like, yeah. And I am thinking of like the knight teachers. So like this like grizzled old veteran knight who's like, you can't become a knight, you're too small, or something like that. I don't know. I think that type of culture for me, for this tribe, has a lot of like cool things character wise that you can do with it. Yeah. And also because this tribe doesn't, I'm sure that they probably like make things on the wings, so they can probably like weave and create things while they're flying. But overall, they're not a very materialistic tribe. So what they value, I would say, is like stories, which also puts the knights kind of on a pedestal, because they'll have like the most interesting and awesome stories, and they probably have a lot of like oral tradition in this tribe as well. Because why would you lug around books when you have tribe members who can like remember these stories? Which also gives me the idea that they probably have like a sacred position of like story holder for their tribe. So this dragon, or like, again, like kind of 1 or 2 dragons per pod, depending on how many dragons are in that pod, are like, they train and they learn the stories of their people and they pass them down and they teach the dragonettes with these stories, and they kind of share the history of the tribe and skills and all that jazz. Now, I definitely wouldn't say that this tribe is primitive. I mean, they have knights, they have armor, and they have hopefully a deep history, but they are mainly hunter-gatherers. Which means that probably other tribes look down on them because they have kind of a diffuse society. But it's just that like their tribe doesn't have these like materialistic values, and they wouldn't necessarily contribute a ton to like an economy, like a capitalist economy. I'm sure that they do probably make fantastic weavings, which may or may not be based on the fact that I've been in a crochet hole for the past like couple months. But yeah, I want to think of like more positions for their tribe. I definitely know that they do have dances and festivals, because just because you're flying doesn't mean that you can't dance. And I think like aerial dance is probably something that's also really important in their culture, and probably also for courtship. And that brings me to like the last thing that I have planned currently for this tribe, barring getting more ideas from you guys, is that they do have like some markings that glow, and each dragon has different markings that glow differently. And I'm sure that this kind of probably is due to when it's nighttime, it's pretty hard to see because it's dark. And so they can locate each other in the dark when they're flying and stuff like that. Anyway, that's the only thing that actually came from the TribeGen website, but I will still link it in the description below in case you guys also want to make your own tribes. But yeah, stay tuned for the reason why they have to land, the crux of this story. I think it's a good idea. Maybe I'll tease it here. Okay, hint, natural disaster. And we'll get into like what actually happens pretty soon. Maybe the next tribe I'll explain what happened, because it is intimately like linked with certain tribes. Oh my gosh, I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, hopefully this was interesting in any way, shape, or form. Let me know what you guys think, and please share your ideas if you have more ideas for this society or more tribes and all that jazz. Also, one last thing that I forgot to mention, this tribe is cool colors. Any type of cool color, and their belly is going to be lighter than their dorsal side. Okay, there we go. That's all. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you're having a great day, afternoon, evening, morning, whatever, and I'll see you around.